Welcome back to the Eight-Sided blog. This is Tennyson E Stead, the writer and director of Quantum Theory, founding member of Eight-Sided Films. And one subject that we've talked a lot about in the developmental breakdown, which is my physical blog about how we do what we do at Eight-Sided Films, which you can find on the Eight-Sided Films page on Facebook. And also something we've talked about here in the video blogs is the reality that people in Hollywood have a tendency to overextend themselves. Now, what is overextension? Overextension is when you create a situation that's not sustainable. You make commitments, you make promises, you commit to objectives or goals, or you give impressions that you can't, in some way, you can't back up. You're building a situation that you require luck to actually resolve instead of just relying on all the things you know you can do and all the follow-through that you know that you have to make sure these things come into fruition. Okay, that's overextension. And one dead sure sign that you're dealing with somebody who overextends themselves, if you work in Hollywood, something you want to watch out for and something you want to stay away from as soon as you identify it, is a tendency to laugh off consequences or to reassure yourself that consequences belong to somebody else. Okay? What does that mean? We're involved in this production, okay? We find a problem, whether it's a technical problem, whether it's a business problem, we see something that's creating the likelihood of failure, and we bring it to the person who's in charge of this project or who got us involved in this project, okay? And their response is something to the effect of, oh, well, if that happens, then this person has to deal with it. Or if that happens, then it's this person's fault, and they take the blame. Anybody who starts laying blame or in some way absolving themselves of blame is a problem for two reasons. Obviously, the first thing that should pop into your head is, at some point, they're going to blame me. At some point, I'm going to be the place where they dump the things they don't want to deal with and where they lay things at my feet. And that's true. They will. Okay? That's absolutely true. Expect it. However, there's an even bigger problem here, which is that this person is seeing problems with the show. They're seeing things that make the show unsustainable or unlikely to succeed. And they don't have a problem with that. They're totally fine with it as long as it doesn't somehow wind up being their fault. Not a problem as far as they're concerned. Which means that they're not producing this show, they're not involved in this show, they're not responsible for this show for the purpose of the show's success. Their objectives are completely different. They want credit for having been there. They want credit for trying, or they want credit for their part in what's happening. And they're not there for the audience, and they're not there for you, and they're not there for your other showmates. That's cancerous in show business. You've got to stay away from that. You should only be involved in shows that are being produced for the show's sake and for the audience's sake. That's the only reason to do any of this. And if that's not reason enough, then you need to be in another business. There's no other answer to that question. Okay? And the surest sign that you're dealing with somebody whose ego is bigger than their commitment to the production, the surest sign is when they start sloughing off responsibility and laying it at the hands of other people. You know, this is another one of those situations where I've been having conversations lately with people around these issues. And it's not unconnected to the last blog that we did, which was about doing something to say you tried, doing something to say you were there instead of doing something for the sake of having it done. Okay? If somebody's saying, oh, well, this person will get sued if that goes wrong, or oh, well, that person has to pay if this goes wrong. Okay? If that's somebody's solution to a problem, then that means the problem you've identified is not the same problem they're seeing. Their problem is, what happens if I get blamed? What happens if somebody comes at me and says, this is your fault? That's as far as they're going with it, okay? And you need to be working with people that are there to see each and everything that can impact the success or failure of a show dealt with all the way through until it's dealt with. Whether that's a problem that you need to keep working on. Ticket sales is a problem that never goes away. Until the box office is closed and the show is over, you need to be all the time worried about who's going to come and see the show, and you need to be talking to them constantly. I'm doing this blog right now, right? That's a problem that never goes away. Or sometimes it's a quality control. You're building this set. It needs to be of a level of quality that the rest of the production is at. It needs to be great. So as soon as the set is built and the set is great, then you can stop worrying about that and move on to other things. Some problems have a finite sort of amount of work that goes into them, and other problems are literally infinite in their scope, and you just need to keep at them all the time. But either way, you need someone, you need everyone in your production to be someone who's focused on making sure that those issues are resolved successfully and completely, as opposed to just finding ways of saying, well, we did good enough and well, we tried. Because if somebody's looking for that back door, that way out of responsibility or accountability for that issue, then they're not thinking about the success of the show. That's what it tells you. They're not thinking about the two things that make show business work. They're not thinking about what if the show sucks, and they're not thinking about what if nobody shows up. They're thinking about themselves. Move on. Get rid of those people. Don't stick around. It's no good. Okay? That's the end of this blog. Thank you very much. If you like what we've got to say here on the 8-sided blog, give us a like. If you like the videos we have on the channel, give us a subscribe. We have some great science fiction coming to you in the beginning of 2017 in the form of a web series called Declassified. Declassified is going to be about government projects. It's archival footage. It's a documentary web series about archival footage from Cold War government projects that never should have been undertaken and were. It's all fictional, but in the world that we're building, they were all they were all things that we went ahead and did, even though we never should have. And the first season is about a manned one-way mission to Saturn's moon of Titan, where we basically, with some nuclear rocketry that was being developed by defense contractors, we took a Saturn V, we launched it out of the grip of Earth's gravity and sent it on an 8-year trajectory to intercept with Saturn, with one man in an Apollo capsule that's been gutted and filled with life support. So it's just him by himself, crammed into this little tiny chair for 8 years, keeping himself and his spacecraft in working order long enough to make the landing, with the knowledge that he never is going to come home. So how do you do that is the question driving the series, and I think it's going to be really good. Gerard Marzilli, who's an actor you've seen here on the blogs before and who you know from other 8-sided projects, is going to be playing the astronaut. And then once we finish with, it's called Project Icarus, once we finish with Declassified Project Icarus, we're going to move on to other declassified projects. So that's what's happening. Give us a subscribe if you want the notifications. And thank you very much for watching. Have a great evening. Take care.